have just amazing leaders around this table. Carlos Palacios has been in this role for almost since 2017, first Latino in representing Santa Cruz, which is huge. Sonia de la Rosa, in 2023? Joined us in our region to serve Monterey County, and also from Monterey County region, King City, I want to say, and has come back home from the Fresno area, also making history as a first Latina. And then, of course, Angela Cura, supervisor, our fearless leader representing San Benito and always lifting up San Benito and the voices and the needs of San Benito. So with that, Carlos, I'm going to turn to you.
Carlos Palacios, County Executive Officer with Santa Cruz County. I've been with the county now almost a decade. And prior to that, I was the city manager in Watsonville for almost 2 decades. So I've been in Santa Cruz County for quite a while, and I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Sonia de la Rosa with the County of Monterey. I was actually in the County of Fresno for 30 years, had left after I graduated from King City High School and attended Fresno State and went to work at the county for 24 years. I've been with this county, I'm starting on my 3rd year, and what I have learned very quickly is that we have an emergency every year. Or maybe it's just me, but it's happened every year, and it's always in January. So gotten to know a lot of people through the emergency response process, but also so grateful to be able to come back and serve the community that saw me grow up.
Hi, I'm Angela Curro, San Benito County District 4 Supervisor. I am not a CAO, and I do not want that job. I will tell you right now, after working in local government since 1987, I have worked with a lot of county executives, a lot of individuals. Having to work for 5 elected officials that have different opinions is impossible. I have over 1,000 people that I report to, or over 10,000 people that I report to. I would rather have my 10,000 people than the 5 people that these individuals have to report to and make happy. So with that said, I have been an elected official since 2023, first time elected official in San Benito County. I was the former assistant county clerk, recorder, and registrar of voters for San Benito County for over 10 years. I started local government in '87 in Santa Clara County, and I found my niche in elections. Many of you know Gail Pellerin. I was in elections before Gail was. I don't think I need to say anymore. You're a little crazy if you go into elections and then you go to the other side and become an elected official. So I'm going to end on that.
Well, I think that actually segues nicely into our first question, which is, what do you do as a county administrative officer? And then, Angela touched on a really good point. Like you're addressing 5 elected folks, and they have a huge constituency. And so, what are those type of services to demystify for those folks who may not be as aware?
I think the job of a chief executive officer, county executive officer, starts with working with the elected officials and implementing their vision for the county, their policy priorities. That's where it starts, really. And then I think also the other thing that we really spend a lot of time is strategic planning. We really, in this job, have to have a strategic view of our organization and of our county, thinking the long term, the big picture. And then we also do accountability. We make sure that our departments are following through on the council's or the board's priorities. So that's, I think, our biggest job.
And similar to Carlos, we did just recently adopt a new strategic plan for the County of Monterey. Much of it is very focused on the very things that we focused on for many, many years. Prior to this most recent strategic plan, the last time we had updated a strategic plan was in 2008. And I've talked about this before, where if you think about it, that's the age of my son. So it's been 16 years since that plan was updated. But so much of it was still very much relevant, but the language has changed. That focus on public safety no longer means just law enforcement. It means mental health, it means social services, it means so much more than what we considered public safety in the past. The focus on well-being also includes mental health, but it also includes just wellness of our families. So much of the work that we do, yes, it's focused on county-wide. We have large counties that we support. We do have those 5 elected board members, each with their priorities as well, but then are able to come together and form this strategic plan that then is our focus. So that is much of what we cover across the county, including emergency response. And I think the reliance from the community of the county has changed. Some folks really think that we need to do so much more, but our goal is really to empower our people so that they do have their go bags ready, so that they're ready to respond in the event of an emergency. And that includes the staff that we have. We not only support the entire county, we also live in the county, and our families are growing up in our counties and aging in our counties.
Well, I don't have a lot to add to that since I'm not a CAO, but I'm going to wing this because I have no script here. We did update our strategic plan in San Benito County when I was chair last year. It hadn't been updated in quite some time. It has given us more of a focus. This board right now is pivoting on that strategic plan, and what I see in CAOs that make them very successful is finding the common ground between their elected officials. We are more united than we are divided, no matter how heated we can get in our beliefs or in our meetings. We are more united if, especially our CAO, is seeing the commonality in each of us as elected representatives. The good news happening right now in San Benito County is that we have just ended our CAO recruitment. We have an interim CAO, which was Henny Ring. I was going to point to her picture, which she's not here. And you can read her bio. She has been holding us together since last year, and we are in final interviews and selection for a new CAO, and the board is very united and excited about what that could do for our opportunities.
Excellent. So, we've been talking about these sort of economic uncertainties and sort of all morning. All that to say, how are your counties being impacted, and how are you preparing for that, especially since we have agricultural, manufacturing, and export-related industries in our Tri-County region? What steps are being taken to also support those folks, but also the small businesses, as the controller had mentioned earlier? How are you navigating those changes?
So I think the most important thing we can do to support private business in the county and in the cities is to provide more housing at this point. Housing is the number one issue that's facing all of our governments, but also our businesses. We just cannot hire people because of the cost of housing. So I wanted to give a plug to this book here. It's called Abundance. Ezra Klein and Derek Thompson. What is this book about? Let me tell you a story. When I was in Watsonville, we started building an affordable housing project called Pippin 1 and Pippin 2. 100% affordable, together about 85 units. And that project just opened, was completed last year, 2024. I started working on that in 2002. So if you want to know what this book's about, that's what it's about. Why? So the most important thing we can do is facilitate the construction of housing, I think. That's right now. So what are we doing? We have our housing element. So we've just rezoned 77 parcels in our county. We planned for 4,700 new units. So the planning process is getting there. We are doing a comprehensive organizational assessment of our permitting and planning department because we need to get out of the way. And frankly, we've been in the way too much. And so if you look at this book, is how do we facilitate through our permitting process? We've just finished the organizational assessment involving an advisory group of the private sector, architects, contractors, others who use our permitting system. And now we're on the process of developing a work plan to do that. And then the third thing is the great uncertainty is that we are facing so much threats to this public safety net and from the federal government right now. 1/3 of our population is on Medi-Cal right now. That is being threatened. So in other words, in Santa Cruz County, we have approximately 270,000 people, 85,000 are on Medi-Cal. That is being threatened by the federal government right now. This will not only, if those cuts that are being proposed will go in, somewhere between 1/3 to 1/2 of those people on Medi-Cal will no longer have health insurance. And what that means to us is not only will have a huge impact on those individuals who will no longer have health insurance, but it'll affect our county clinics, it'll affect the nonprofits who are providing service to those groups, but also for the general public, it's gonna impact our hospitals. our hospitals are going to be in a crisis overnight if those cuts take place. So anyway, those are the three things that I think are the most important: facilitating housing, making sure that we are doing our bit to get out of the way, and then in terms of our permitting, and then third, making sure we can maintain the safety net throughout this current cuts.
So very similar to what Carlos has stated, I do want to mention, I just came back from 2 conferences. One of them was a legislative conference for our California State Association of Counties. Carlos had a team there as well, and I think San Benito also had a presence there. And then I went to a governance institute related to our hospital, because I also sit on as a board of trustee for Natividad Hospital. And that's due to the position that I currently hold. And I think overall, of course, the concern of the federal impacts to our counties in the different ways that we receive these dollars. I think the number was mentioned, 30% of our budget is federal dollars. I think there's a combination of resources. Not only are they matching dollars, I think in some departments it's significantly more, in others it's less. But we also are looking at what it looks like in terms of our budget. Our budget hearings are actually at the end of May. So these last few weeks, we've been busily putting together the budget. And I could tell you now, some of the impacts that we're seeing are really trying to plan without knowing what the broader impacts are going to be. Some of the vacant positions that we have are in our large departments. It's in Natividad, it's the health department, it's social services. But in some instances, we're not able to fill those positions because we've maxed out the amount that we could actually receive as reimbursement from either the state or the federal government. So we have positions that we'll likely never be able to fill. So some of those positions will be recommended for deletion. In addition to that, we have a workforce that at times can't afford to live in the county that they serve. And so some of us that grew up in the community, certainly we have local ties that bring us here, but the difficulty of trying to create a life in a community that is very expensive to live in, and even when you're adjacent community is about the same, right? So we are trying to address some of these not only the salary inequities, but also look at the cost of living for our communities, and then look at workforce housing for our folks. Our thought was to work with our local builders, including our friends at Chispa and other organizations like the Housing Authority, to see what it would look like potentially for workforce housing. And when we look at that level of housing, we're not talking about low-income folks, we're talking about us. We can't afford to live in the areas that we serve, and quite frankly, we have to have some measure of housing that goes into place that accounts for those of us that are considered the missing middle, right? I don't necessarily like that word because we are very present, but it's the reality of some of our workforce. So when you look at our vacancy report, it is 16% vacancy rate. But the largest amount is actually in those 3 departments, the hospital, the health department, and social services. So our reliance on nonprofit organizations such as yourselves is extreme. And coming out of COVID, our people trust you. They trust you more than government, especially at these times of uncertainty where they just really don't know what stage of government you represent or whether or not they're contacting the correct entity. In addition to that, we have community that's working on workforce housing for our farm workers. And some of these, of course, are the H-2A contracted workers that are brought in by our local agricultural providers, our local agricultural industry. But we're also looking at our farm workers that are here. And that is representative of my family. My parents were already here. We had our documentation. We weren't here as part of a contract. And many of the folks have told us, okay, if you're taking care of the H-2A worker, why aren't you taking care of us? So in our county, we are beginning to do that. Our first site was in Greenfield, and it's apartment complex that mirrors the apartment complex that we've seen in many communities, but they're actually targeting our workforce that is farm workers.
I can't really add anything to this in the sense of what are the big impacts for our county. We're really focusing on our ag industry. It is our #1 industry in San Benito County. Farm worker housing and workforce housing is a huge issue. We are housing Silicon Valley. We house a lot of your employees because they can't afford to live in your counties. What that does to us is it makes us house heavy. And we have a community that doesn't want any more housing. They are tired of the traffic. They're tired of the lack of infrastructure. If we don't start to really look at bringing in industries into San Benito County, it will only hurt our community in the long run. What we've done is this board has pivoted and we've really hyper-focused on tourism. You guys are way ahead of us on tourism. If you haven't been to San Benito County, we have a wonderful wine industry. We have Pinnacles National Park. We have Hollister Hills Recreational Park. We have a new regional park that is in the process of starting, and these are going to be great things for our community. We're trying to connect our community, but where our challenge is right now getting our community to be united. Our ag element is our #1 thing right now. We're working on our ag element. We have a stakeholder group that the community is supporting in being able to preserve our ag land and at the same time identify where can we have economic development. Pushing our employees out of our area is not going to help us. We have over 60% of our employees are under 5 years. We have lost our historical knowledge in our community, in our county government, and that is crippling. So being able to stay focused and keep people living and working in our community is really our challenge. With what's happening at the national level, it is we don't know how to prepare for this. We really don't, and it's a wait and see.
Absolutely. You kind of touched on immigration a little bit, Sonia. If we could just, I wanted to kind of follow up on that, which is there's, of course, fear in the deportations and the roundups and what ICE is doing and all of that. How's your county preparing or addressing that? Or do you have measures in place, or what are you seeing, especially since you're tied with the CBOs and how closely you've been working with them?
So we, as a county, did adopt a Welcoming County resolution, and I think the piece that I want to make sure all of you take away, because what I've noticed about the two conferences that I was at, and parts of this meeting as well, is that we are in a very difficult time, and I've left conferences and I've been at conferences where immigration has been discussed, and the person that they're talking about is me. And that person, me, grew up in King City, but I was born in Tecate, which is in Baja California. And during the time I was born, it was Vietnam War, and there was a lot of uncertainty then. It was early 70s. 4 of us were born in Tecate. My sister was actually the only one born in King City. But we did became residents, and eventually in 95, we all became citizens. But I was a farm worker with my parents. My parents were farm workers until they retired. And that is who I represent every time I walk in the room. And that is, I don't stop being that person, whether I'm at the legislative conference in Washington, D.C., in Sacramento, or in Arizona. And sometimes these conversations, they don't leave us. Those of us that are impacted, and I'm not just talking about those of us that are from Mexico, I'm talking about all of us that are immigrants or have parents that are immigrants, ultimately, right? We're all immigrants in some way, shape, or form. But some of the discussions that one of our supervisors, Supervisor Alejo and Supervisor Lopez, actually led a Know Your Rights campaign. And they went to community and presented to community things that we should all know, all of us sitting in this room. Things that we should know about when people ask us about our status. The fact that I'm brown somehow gave you the authority to come and ask me whether or not I have my papers? Is that what just happened in this country? Because, wow. And some of it is very scary to us who have seen this through our grandparents' eyes when this last happened. And I think the way that we prepare is exactly what our supervisors have done. They took resources to community and they presented on your rights. What are your rights as an individual, not just as a immigrant to this country, but as an individual living in this country? And I think that's the most important piece that we've done, is the educational component. We brought the council, the Consul de Mexico, we brought other representatives, some of the school districts that are probably here were also there. And part of it is just informing people. Do the right thing. Become informed. But in addition to that, inform your children. Inform others in your community. And certainly, I know earlier it was mentioned the number of crimes that are committed by folks. One of the first things the consul said is, don't commit crimes. Don't drive drunk. It's so elementary, but I think that's how we move forward, is through education.
Thank you for that, Sonia, and thank you for sharing your story. I appreciate it. You're right. We come into all of these rooms with our various intersectional identities, so I completely get that, and I really appreciate that. As I look at the clock ticking down, I wanted to talk really about the Tri-County collaboration. What more can we do, and what are areas you believe that a deeper Tri-County collaboration could make the most impact in the next few years as we're looking at our priorities? Carlos talked about housing. You've also talked about housing and taking care of the workforce to make sure they can stay here and drive our regional economic development. So what does that look like between the 3 counties, and how does that tie into your priorities?
So I do want to acknowledge we do have our program manager for economic development. He's in the back of the room there. It's Richard Vaughn. And raise your hand, Richard. Any questions you have about economic development, that's your guy. Go that way. One of the things that I think we need to get better at is that we actually, the 3 of us, including Henny, we all actually have a lot of stuff going on in the background that probably we do not share enough with all of you. There's always events that are occurring, especially during emergency management. We all come together. There's no separation between our counties when that happens. We have key individuals in each of our departments, in each of our counties, that come together and work to address whatever the emergency is. In addition to that, when one of us is impacted by a fire of one of our buildings, by whatever it might be, we share behind the backgrounds, and we share furniture, we share information, we share so much, we share knowledge. We all support each other in the background. And I think that's one thing we could do better, is just report out how much we really do work together. Monterey County happens to be the larger county, but in truth, all of us together, we're able to make so much more happen. And I think that's the reality of any of our counties, is that we can't do it alone. And I know there's a lot of presence from nonprofit organizations here. And as we got through COVID, as we get through emergencies, we can't do it without you. And we choose not to do it without you. So I think that's one thing, is we just got to get better at letting everybody know that we're all working together.
What I think that we should really be focusing on is, in addition to housing, is job training and apprenticeships. And I think we can do a lot more in coordinating our efforts. And we already do a lot of that. Our Workforce Investment Board works closely with San Benito and with Monterey County, but I think that's just crucial for the future. The other thing that's very concerning to me is that we're going to have to work together with disaster response. We are having more frequent natural disasters, largely as a result of climate change. We've had the huge fires in Santa Cruz County, the CZU fires, which is the largest fire we've ever had in our history. We've had a series of winter storms that have been among the most severe we've had in the last 50 years, and we've had them within the last decade. What we're seeing is that FEMA is just not responding anymore to us. We have over $90 million that's owed us that we already spent on disaster response. FEMA has just frozen. They're not responding, they're not reimbursing us. We've had to issue a bond of $90 million just to maintain our cash flow. Our ability to respond in the future, if there's another fire this summer, if there's another storms this winter, is going to be severely limited. So there's 2 things that are going to have to happen. One is the state's going to have to step up. The state of California is going to have to take the role, just like they're going to do with LA, which they're going to have to do, because LA's not going to get the FEMA help that they want. They're going to have to step up with them, but they're going to have to step up with us too, because FEMA's not there. They are simply not present right now. And then the other thing is that we're going to have to work even more closely together. So I think that's another thing. We're going to have to help each other with our own resources when one of us starts having issues.
I'm going to completely agree, and I know the clock is ticking, so I'm going to be very brief. The collaboration between the three counties is crucial for San Benito County, especially when it comes to our youth and our senior services. It is so imperative that we have the support of the other counties to be able to be as effective as we can. We are a very Prop 13 poor county, and it is known that if you move to San Benito County, those services, those healthcare services are at risk. We have a district hospital that is just out of bankruptcy. We're trying to maintain that hospital. Healthcare is our third largest employer of our county. So I really can't thank both counties enough, especially when it comes to the disaster preparedness and being there for us and us being there for them. And we have some real challenges with fire right now and ensuring that we have coverage across our county, and the collaboration between the jurisdictions has been remarkable. So thank you.
Thank you to all three of you. In the closing sort of minute and a half we have left to go, what are your 20-second sort of rapid fire? What do you want folks to walk away with, and how can they be better supportive of county government at a time when there isn't a lot of trust in government?
I'm going to start real quick because I'm going to say that you have to be involved in what's happening locally. We have to do a better job of communicating what we're doing behind the scenes, and involvement from the community and especially the nonprofits is crucial. Our big change right now is we are going to have a new CAO. Our county council is retiring, so we'll have a new county council, and change is difficult. We've lost multiple budget analysts in our county over the years, and yet again we've lost another one, and here we are in the middle of budget. Understanding the limited resources that rural counties have, and understanding that it takes voices of our residents to make the difference, especially at the state and federal level.
Well, I'd like for you to just take away, these conversations are going to be difficult. Whatever it is, whatever industry you're in, we're all bracing for what's coming, right? We're not only with the May revise, but also with the potential impacts from the federal government. We are in the process of putting our budget together, and one of the main direction I received from my Board of Supervisors was to save all filled positions. And at a time where we're looking at increased cost and all of those things, this is where we're trying to right size our county, but also acknowledging that we need the help of IT and maybe even AI resources in order to make this happen. This does not mean that we're going to transition to electronics, because there is still a deep need. When you call 911 in our county, sometimes you will go to this electronic AI type of bot that'll guide you through. But if you need to speak with an individual, you're still able to speak with an individual. We're looking at different ways to incorporate technology so that we can do better work and hopefully do some of the streamlining that's being done in terms of housing as well. There's so much more that we're gonna do, and I just want all of you to know we've been here before, unfortunately, and we will survive this. We will be better for it. But in the meantime, as the counties, we do have the best interest of our community in mind, and one of the things that we want to make sure is that you feel support from us. We may not know what the state's going to do or what the federal government's going to do, but just know that in Monterey County, in San Benito County, and Santa Cruz County, our boards are telling us to take care of our people.
Yeah, I think that the governor is signaling that the May revise, which is a revision of the state budget, is going to include major cuts to counties. He's been saying it over and over again, and it's due to the tariff war that is going on and the projections for disruption in the state's economy next year. So we're bracing for that. That's supposed to be released, I believe, May 12th to 14th, somewhere in that time frame. The federal government is considering the budget reconciliation bill, which includes major cuts to Medi-Cal. That is supposed to be coming by this summer. Their goal is to pass it by the 4th of July. So all of that is going to cause major disruptions to our county governments. We're already in a position where we have a difficult financial position, I would say that we're just going to take we're going to have the need to collaborate at a level that we have never done before between county government, city government, local nonprofits, and the private sector. And we're really going to have to figure out as a community how we're going to maintain some of our most essential services. If these cuts go through and if the tariff war continues, that's what we're going to be facing. So we're going to have to really have these collaboration between all sectors to try and figure out how do we maintain these most critical services to the community.
Well, please join me in thanking our panel.